Hello, and welcome to the Sovereign Collective podcast, where we bring you real, raw truth for your self-empowerment. I'm your host, Sasha Calavoda, and I believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, but that you don't have to do it alone. I love learning from people who continually strive to raise the bar, to go against mainstream thinking, and who dare to question the general consensus. People who risk being ridiculed or even risk the loss of their professional status as they bravely question the common narratives and challenge the rest of us to expand our minds and to reconsider what we think we already know. Join me in learning how to take control of your health and your mind so that you can have the energy to think more clearly and the confidence to step up and take responsibility for all aspects of your life. We promise to never censor here because I believe you are strong enough to hear the real, raw truth to make up your own mind. If you like what you find here at the Sovereign Collective podcast, then please share with your friends and family. I so appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And now, on to the show. In this episode, I am once again interviewing my hubby while we were camping, Tymothy Roy, and we're going to be discussing the very important topic of where have all the men gone, and more importantly, how do we support them, and what does the healthy male look like? I, for one, am super grateful for the man that I have in my life who knows how to fix things, who is here to support me and hear me, who is strong and can do so many things that I cannot do for myself. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And in this gender-bending world where everybody or many are questioning their bits and pieces or being led to question them, I think this is a really important topic. So we talk about what the healthy male looks like, what the healthy female looks like, how they do the dance together. And women, it is also part of our role to support the healthy masculine because it is a dance that we do together. In nature, there's masculine and feminine everywhere, and it's something that we do together. And if we want to have the strong man in our lives, and I know many of you do, then there's also a role that we need to play in supporting that. Because there's a big psyop going on. It started with the women becoming more masculine, and now it's the men becoming more feminized. And now we're even going beyond both of that to just blurring the lines completely. And why do we need one or the other? We can be androgynous. We don't need that. But in order for this world to move forward, in order to support the generations that come after us and to heal those that came before us, it's very important for us to get back on our own 2 feet, to find our strength, to know who we are, to know what we stand for, to stop focusing on the minutia of who we are, whether it be a pronoun or, how easily one is offended or anything like that, and start getting back to what we are here to do in this lifetime and how to support the grandeur of who we are, the greatness of who we are. Stop focusing on what makes us different and what makes us offended. That is not strength. It's time to find our strength because future generations are depending on us. And it's time. And I know most of us have it within. And so if you are interested in this, then please listen to the interview all the way to the end. There's so many good things. Tim is a student of relationships, of masculine and feminine, of healthy self-mastery. And if you find that you are attracted to what we talk about, then please check him out at tymothyroy.com. That's TYMOTHYROY.com or gettingrelationshipright.com. And see if he's somebody that you would want to work with. Because I tell you, every time that I read a testimonial from one of his clients, I literally cry every single time because it is life-changing. And what you will find when you find yourself, when you know who you are, magic comes into your life. Your relationships change, your opportunities change, everything around you changes because your vibe has changed, because your frequency has changed. And I've seen it over and over again. So it's time to stop playing small. It's time to step into the bigness of who each of us is. Are you ready? If so, have a listen. If you like this interview, please feel free to give me a rating if you feel so compelled. Leave me a comment on YouTube. I'm pretty sure this interview won't be censored like my last one was. Give me a rating. Go check out my store at sovereigncollective.org. And you can find the store page there and find some great discounts on some amazing products. And thank you for listening. Please share this. I always appreciate your comments, your feedback, hearing from people on the street, reading the comments online. I so appreciate you. So thank you for listening. And now on with the show. Nice. No. Okay, hello everyone. Sasha here for another episode of Sovereign Collective Podcast, Camping Edition. We are out camping for this Canada Day long weekend while our son plays in a disc golf tournament and talking with my hubby. I'm talking with my hubby today, and we're going to talk about where all the men go, bringing back the men, the real man. Let's stop talking about toxic masculinity. Let's stop feminizing our men. Let's appreciate that life doesn't move forward without the masculine, the feminine, the male, and the female. And those energies are both required. One is not more important than the other. They are both needed. They're both necessary. All this bullshit about women, what do we need men for? We don't need men. Well, okay, maybe you actually don't need a man if you have a great job and you can hire somebody to do things. But
and you want to adopt children
when you adopt children, right?
Yeah.
Or you have them artificially inseminated or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care if you're talking about people, glassware, electricity, there's male and female parts, and that's how they go together. And I have been very blessed for the last, how many years? 18? 18 years to be with my man who has a beautiful balance of his masculine and feminine energy, but also does the manly things, right? You can't see it, but there's a fire right. Oh, you can see how bright it is. There's a fire right there. He built me a fire.
See it.
We've got a fire going on there. We've got all our camp set up. He set me up. She surprised me with running water and shower. It's amazing. And, he does all the things, but he also can recognize the other moments that need to be softer or set differently or whatever. So anyways, I think there's great sexiness in that. And I've always appreciated the men because the men do the hard things, the dirty things, the heavy things, that's what they do. Not all of them and not always, but generally speaking. So anyways, honey, thank you. My hubby, Tymothy Roy, he is here today to help us because he coaches. So let me just introduce him. He's been on the podcast before for other reasons. And today I want to interview him and talk to him because I think we're finally realizing that maybe we've gone too far. Some of us are realizing that maybe we've gone too far. Maybe we've gone too far in going to the feminist side, which is also very disempowering for the women, by the way. And then we go into like really the male bashing and all this stuff. And Tim coaches men, coaches women, coaches couples. And I'm really excited when the men sign up because the men get to learn more of who they are. And you're really good, I think, at helping them see it and not letting them off the hook and helping them find their true strength from within that's already there. But I feel like they let it be hidden or they let it be suppressed or they suppress it voluntarily because. So anyways.
So do you think it's worth sharing what inspired this conversation?
Sure. What inspired the conversation?
Well, just the observation of, so we're in just outside of Edmonton. We're not in Edmonton here, but this is where the tournament's at. And we were down on White Ave going to the farmer's market. And it was just one of the things that kind of pushed the envelope over. Because like this is a huge topic. It's a sensitive topic. It's a volatile topic. This is a topic could get this like episode banned in like 3 seconds. Because what's happening to the men? Like this is a big, big conversation. And every time I think about this conversation, I think of a particular read that's not an easy read. It's an ugly read, actually. It's a read of a paper called Silent.
You were talking about what inspired the conversation.
Well, I did. I was like talking, we were down on.
Oh, and what did you see there? We were there and what?
Well, lots of something that was born to be a man turning out to be something utterly other than a man. And there you go. Here comes some hate mail. It's okay. It's all good.
It's okay.
But I zoom out when I look at these conversations. It's not so much a judgment as an observation of a particular plan. Like, quite frankly, I believe that the destruction of the man, of the male, is part of an agenda that just it's it's almost too easy of an agenda. So years and years ago, I read a paper called "Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars."
Mm-hmm. Right.
Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. If you haven't seen it, go find it. It's just you can find it.
It's a small document, right? It's not
a long read. It's just not a very fun read. It's actually, you would consider it a white paper. And the story goes that it was found in a Mel Prospect Xerox copier, like, where
it was just found.
It was found in the hopper slot or something like that of, bulk Xerox copiers that were getting swapped out of, some kind of commercial activity. And anyway, so this is like 1979 or 80 or something like that. And this paper comes out, and it's like, it's a white paper. It's not, hopefully that's not racist to say now. Is that a racist remark?
We'll let one slip.
We'll let one slip.
One slip.
What has formerly been termed a white paper, because it's just all data. It's data. It's a data centric. It has paper. It has mathematical computations in it. It's like, it's written as if an actuarial, or someone who is an actuarial or engineering or anyway, science, because it's a scientific derivative kind of thing. And the crazy thing is that it's basically this really cold study of how to dismantle the family, and especially by breaking the males.
Dirty, by the way.
Well, we're camping.
I know. Just seeing that.
Sasha's like, "Are we going to do this?" We're like, oh, it's like, this is real. It's camping.
It's real. Yeah.
This may or may not be wine. It may or may not be called La Vita è Bella, which means, honey, over to you.
The beautiful life.
The beautiful life.
I'm not French, but
right?
I mean, I am.
Well, you're not
it's
French.
Not. That isn't French.
That isn't French?
That's not French.
No, what is it?
I know French, but that's not French.
Oh, maybe it's Italian. Actually, I think this is Italian.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Italian.
It's Italian.
There you go. So
Anyways.
it's the Italian version of French.
So basically, they're talking about how to destroy the family, society, right?
The easiest way to destroy a family, and you think about this. So a family is like the perpetuation of the human race.
Yeah.
Okay? And so if you break family, you break a lot of things. Like, heck, we only have one child. We don't have enough children to even replace ourselves on Earth. So we're being very responsible from the agenda perspective. But that paper outlines systematically how to destroy the patriarch of the family.
And also, I think communities and stuff, right?
Well, a
They
whole
talk
bunch
about
of things, but
all of it.
yeah.
But basically, it's just the breakdown of society in the end, which starts with the family, which started, I believe, with taking the woman out of the home. Because how do you have a strong, healthy home where everybody can come and gather and be nurtured? When you take the woman out of the home, or you frazzle her and she's going to go have the baby, she's going to have the job, she's going to do it all. It's like, well,
but now
nobody
think
wins.
about that.
So that's how it
Coupled
started.
with the idea of breaking the male. Because
Right.
now you have a woman who makes her own money, can live her own life, can do whatever, and maybe doesn't feel like that needs the male. And
Right. Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you have a strong
And so,
woman, and then you have a weak man.
And then so it starts, even that can start to emasculate a man, because there is a way to. So there's a great relationship expert out there named Alison Armstrong, and she has this great story about when she learned what a frog farmer was.
Right. I just heard you talk about this
Right?
recently.
what a friend of hers pointed out because she had the demise of a marriage, and he's like, "You're a frog farmer."
You said that to Allison
To
Armstrong.
Allison Armstrong.
Okay.
And she's like, "A frog farmer? What's a frog farmer?" She goes, he was like, that whole story of the frog prince, where if the woman has enough love, the princess kisses the frog and it turns into a prince. Well, you take princes, kings even, and you turn them into frogs. And because like the power of the feminine is so intense. Like it can destroy the masculine.
So how do they do that? How are they destroying the masculine?
Uh, for the masculine to thrive, the masculine needs to have a safety zone to learn from his own mistakes. So nitpicking and nagging, look, I'm making my own money. You get out there and you do it, or something like that. And it's like even in our relationship, like those years where you were just like, when I was struggling, you were just like, it's okay. And I would fall and I would make my mistakes. And you're like, I know you're in there, and that kind of thing. It started allowing me to find my backbone, which I had systematically allowed through spiritual measures and other
You went
things.
through the nice guy phase.
I went through the nice guy phase, and the great thing about trying to be a nice guy, it's a perfect way to turn your backbone into jelly, right? And uncool. And so this happens a lot, and in my coaching and stuff, there's a lot of frog farming going on, right? All due love and respect to all the women out there. It's like, am I taking my prince and turning him into a frog? Or better or worse yet, am I taking my king and turning him into a frog? And it's understanding the relationship between masculine and feminine energy is like it's really where all the magic is. It's where the deep magic is. But it's so nuanced that it takes time, it takes study, and it takes a commitment to want to learn that. Right. So we go out here and the whole TRANS movement out there.
You can say
you can say it. I can say it. Right. So if I were patient, if I had, like, think of it as chess-like patience. So I'm not thinking in a move, I'm thinking in many moves. And I'm not just thinking in today's, I'm thinking in many years, like maybe even 100 years. If I want to win the game in 100 years, what are the things that I might seed into people's psyche, especially if I was an expert in the occult knowledge of psychology and stuff like this? I would help people to voluntarily remove themselves from propagating. I would do that.
Well, somebody did that, because look what's happening.
Well, only if you stopped watching the news or whatever.
We're agreeing to the deletion of ourselves. We are agreeing to our own demise, because if we don't self-propagate, and not everybody's meant to be a parent here, but in general, it's just the way things go. And what the crazy thing for me is that the wholesome family values is what's under attack.
Yep.
Oh, we need more
wood.
fire.
All right.
Yeah.
I know this talk is really important, but this is kind of important too. You gotta put a big one on there.
Okay.
This is like the best sounding fire ring ever. It's actually a fire ring. It's like, ring.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
But that's the thing is, who would have ever thought that family values and the family, hopefully that's not too loud over there, would be under attack?
Yeah.
Who would think that? It's so crazy to think that wholesomeness is under attack. And for example, so our son is 15, and we'll look up now. not as picky with movies because he goes anywhere and sees anything anyways. But what is deemed to be appropriate for a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old shocks me. You know, you go to certain websites to see, oh, is this age appropriate? Because can't really trust the ratings. And you can't really trust that either. And
You can't
it's
trust
just,
it because of so many reasons. But this movie thing is it's actually a really good thing to bring into the conversation because, you know, if we're gonna be talking about the deletion of the male, of the strong male, you think about all the movies. So I never underestimate the amount of money that is put into the study of psychology on how to motivate somebody to make a decision you want them to make. I did a bunch of study in marketing, and I can use what I studied in marketing to help somebody help themselves,
mm,
right? So it's like a tool, it's like a hammer, right? So it's I know these ways, these tactics and tools and techniques to have somebody and almost compel them to make a decision. Okay. But like a hammer, you can use it for good or not so good, right? I can build a house with a hammer, or I can like cave somebody's skull in. And marketing and understanding how the psychology works is like that. It can be used for any purpose. It can be used to help you, and it can be used to like thwart you without your knowledge. So I think about, I challenge anyone who's listening to this to explore recent television shows, movies, and see how many strong male characters there are, especially in a relationship. Because in most of these storylines nowadays, it's the powerful woman with the idiot husband.
well, and sitcoms,
Yeah.
like, and that's been like that for a
A
long
long
time
time.
with TV shows,
Yeah.
right? The sitcoms, the dad is always the buffoon.
Yeah, like Married with Children.
Married with children, even like
The Simpsons.
that's what I was gonna
Right?
say. Like it's always the man, this bumbling dad that doesn't know what he's doing, and it's just
And
that's
every once in a while stumbles around and all of a sudden gets it right.
right.
Just-
Oh, it's hot.
It's better than it going up, I think.
But and that's the thing. And then I think what's important is we need to respect our men when they are respectable, I would say. I mean, there's, you
Well,
know, but how do you, because we all have, there's all of us, men and women alike, who are just, you know, not at our best. So, you know, people are in their place, but I think there's a respect that is required. Isn't that a thing for men to be
oh,
respected?
100%. Respect is a man's version of appreciation.
Okay.
So women love to feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, because like, of course, I'm using broad strokes. And if you really get into the study of masculine and feminine energy, you'll learn that there are feminine dominant men and women. But feminine, for instance, doesn't mean effeminate, but it's been substituted to mean that. Feminine is just an energy that complements the masculine energy, and the masculine is an energy that complements the feminine energy. And so as you know, I study a lot of law stuff and equity stuff. And there's a maxim in equity that says substance over form. Okay. So I've never talked about this actually, but this just struck me. You heard it here first live, people. So, you know, we're on a podcast that's been titled The Sovereign Collective. And so most people who are listening to this will have some, like, if you're listening to this, chances are you have some idea what sovereignty is. You have some idea that there's a game being played, and there's, flesh and blood living men and women, which I hate to say because people like bringing that into law. It has no business in law, right? But there's there's real, and then
Right.
there's
Paper.
that's
fiction.
There's this art officiality. And it's so there's ourselves, and then our legal persons, right? But most people blend them together and think that who they are is what the legal person thing, and that's how the public form gets you all the time. The public domain is always forever on the way to get you to contract in saying that you're that. And you don't have to do that. But anyways, it's not really about that conversation. But so in equity, where it says substance over form in nature, like we're sitting here we're in a campground, but just lots of nature. Like we're staring at a wall of trees over here. A wall.
Mhm.
This is a forest of trembling aspens that we're staring at, not 15 feet away. And that's substance. Where form, like the matter of form, everything in the public domain is form. It's paper. Okay. But it's masculine. So form would be an idea of masculine, and feminine would be a form of substance. So one of the best analogies that what can help understand this is a substance that likes to take form that really for me, it's basically a perfect analogy and metaphor for the feminine is water. Because water is arguably the most powerful element on the earth. I know all the elements are important. But as far as we go, we're mostly water. We need waters to live. We also need air and all this kind of stuff. But water, how it flows, needs form.
Okay.
So, for instance, the computer over here, it's sitting on a table that we took out of our trailer, and it's sitting over here. So, if we took that water you have and we just poured it on the table, the only form that it's running into is the top of the table. So, what it's going to do is what does it do?
Runs off.
It just diffuses, runs off, and just basically disappears. So, if you're a feminine dominant female, for instance, you probably know what that feels like. If you run into a male that doesn't have a good handle on its masculine, I think you can feel like you can just hit it with your water and like splash it and surround it, and there's no form, there's no direction, and the feminine energy wants to flow, it wants to do something and go somewhere, it wants to move out of its potentiality and into its kinetic form, hence like the banks of a river, right? So the river is like the masculine. It gives form.
The banks.
The river bed and the river banks. Okay.
Right.
It gives the water form, and the water does what it does. But some of like the beauty of understanding the relationship between masculine and feminine is to know that the banks are giving it form, but every time all the time when water's passing by it is eroding the bank. So the masculine will give of itself to help the feminine to do its thing. Even on the ocean, instead of
that makes me want to cry. I'm crying. Yeah. But, okay, go. Because you do that. You give of yourself. You do that. That's totally what you do. That I've never heard of it that way. And that's made me cry. Okay. Keep going.
And if it's not respected, then you will erode the masculine, like erode it to the point where you go into a floodplain.
So how does one not make that a catastrophic erosion? What is keeping those banks from disappearing completely?
Well, it's a great question. The masculine it needs recognition and respect, and it quite frankly it likes to peacock. It likes to know that he's the man. It likes to know that it's if nothing will quell a masculine dominant man from wanting to engage than being taken for granted.
Okay.
So part of the masculine kind of like it's this is going to sound maybe trite, but it's not meant to be. But the masculine kind of likes to keep score.
Oh,
Not as in like, okay, 1-0, that not that kind of score. It's more like win, loss. It's like if I've done something and I felt like it was a win, I'll fucking do it again.
uh,
Or I'll try to find a different way to have that win feeling again. So
okay.
how the feminine dominant women turn kings into frogs is to take for granted what got them here. So you get into this place of complacency and stuff like this. And but don't worry, there's also a corollary to this that goes in the other direction and stuff. But
Right.
we're talking about the men
We're
today.
talking about the men. Yeah.
And so if how a man was feeling respected before all of them becomes like kind of pedestrian. Okay. Now there's two things that can happen. The man can level up his game, which is fine. That's true. And there's a way to invite that. If the man has to try to do it to get the attention of the woman, okay, instead of being invited to be more, which is different, it's a different energy, then
Okay.
he'll eventually give up. It'll be like banging your head again.
You know, and you know what I also have noticed in many relationships that I know of, it's always the woman, not always, but very often it's been the woman wanting to level up in her life, wanting to level up, wanting to do more, be more. And the man doesn't want to do it. The man wants to just sit there and do his thing and not put the effort in until it's too late. They've been asked, they've been, nudged, but and then the woman's like, okay, I'm done. And then they do it. And it's often too late. And I've seen
Yeah,
that happen a lot.
and that's a bit of a trap, right? Because and there's more things at play than just what we're discussing
I've just seen it in
because yeah,
relationships many times.
because the man's like, hey, look what I've done, look what I've done, look what this form and this kind of thing. And the feminine's like, hey, yeah, so that was so yesterday because you're the river flowing down, you're the water flowing down the river. So there's also an understanding that needs to happen on the masculine side. Like there's a
Like you can't just go on the one thing.
you can't get complacent. But if you're also feeling like you're being taken advantage or taken for granted, then first of all, you have to check in with yourself to see if that's actually a true statement or if that's just bringing up unresolved bullshit
Right.
from your past.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Because like there's tons of that too. But if it's authentic, because there's an authentic way to feel that. There's an authentic
Yeah.
way to say, no, I'm performing, I'm doing these things. Um, and it's not being reciprocated.
Right.
Um, but that gets into a whole bunch of stuff about how to communicate, the dance between the masculine and feminine, and how to communicate. Because nothing, I I would urge everybody to go watch the Princess Bride movie and
One of his
through a
favorites.
very, very good, there's so many amazing things happening in that movie. It's one of the like this movie is from like 1980, and about 1980 is like when the real commitment to the destruction of the male happened. But here you have a masculine dominant, like an expression of a masculine dominant male in the character Wesley, the farm boy, right? And an encapsulation of the feminine dominant female. Now, this isn't damsel in distress. You have to remember that she was in charge. Farm boy, do this. Farm boy, do that. And then finally, farm boy, fetch me that pitcher, which she could have easily gotten herself.
Right.
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 It's like hanging next to her ear, basically. And she's like, farm boy, fetch me that pitcher. And he just walks right up to her, staring her in the eyes. And, as you wish. So they both know that there was a game being played, but the game is so enjoyable at that level. Like when it really gets conscious, um, when it really gets conscious, the women can have the masculine almost be at your mercy, if you will,
Mm,
because she knows how to have it think that it's his idea, but he's also aware that he knows that she's doing that. And when that happens,
mm.
there's a flywheel of just fun that can happen. Like you actually do it quite naturally, by the way. You may not even know that you do, but
No.
it's oh yeah, you've
What's
been one of my greatest teachers. Like it's good. Everything that I've learned about this,
Oh,
it's super fun, right? Because and I don't know if you know that you do it, but you do it.
okay, example.
Oh my goodness,
You know what I do? I say out loud the things that I want, and then they magically appear in my life very shortly thereafter. That's what happens in my, that's my perception of things.
well, okay, well, let's play with this. Okay, this is good. So what I have these kind of five tenets. They work for both masculine and feminine. They work best for a masculine dominant male. They're be first, cultivate unapologetic vulnerability, um, become a mind reader, always leave the bed made, and look for evidence. These five things. And but the third one, because have you ever heard a man say, "I'm a fucking mind reader"?
Right,
This is usually a conversation from one man to another.
right.
I don't know what she wants. It's like I'm not a mind reader. Right. But basically, what I would say to them with lighthearted fun is like, well, it's time to become one because a feminine dominant woman, and ladies, let me know if this is true or not. Like, throw it in the chat or whatever you're doing, whatever you do in these things. Like,
Comment.
put it in the comments. Put it in the comments.
That's
You're
like on
always
YouTube.
you're always dropping clues, right? So Sasha kind of thinks out loud.
It's very convenient.
It's very convenient. Some guys are like, with the
I
average,
now have
shut up.
just over here in our campsite a shower, like a hot water shower. We've got like hot water plumbed in with a tent trailer. It's amazing.
Yeah. But just so you know, this isn't a tent trailer with a hot water system that we plumbed a
No,
shower outside.
it's one that he surprised me with.
It's a on the go hot water. It's
On
called
demand.
Joolca, by the way. JOOLCA. These people did it right. It's so cool. So it's a hot water on demand system that you can basically take anywhere. You can even use it off grid and not have it attached to a trailer. But I plumbed it in through the trailer.
Inside the river.
We have a sink inside. We have a sink outside. We have a shower tent. Everything. It's
Very
very
nice.
cool. It's very cool.
Very.
And she didn't. So I had held on to this for months.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was there.
It was a surprise because you know I listen, and it's like I'm being a mind reader. Yeah, a simpler, okay, this is a bigger ordeal, but a simpler thing might be like one of my favorite examples of is I'll hear you say, what? No chocolate? So we have a place in one of our cupboards for chocolate, and I'll just overhear. It's like, no chocolate. It's like, okay, note to self, surprise chocolate. So chocolate will magically appear in the thing
Mhm.
in the cupboard. There might even be occasionally, not too often, but occasionally to make it another one might end up in her purse.
Well, it has, yeah, that has happened in the past.
Yes,
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
It can't happen too often, otherwise it
Yeah.
gets taken for
Right.
granted.
Well, yeah. It's old.
Right.
Yeah. 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 He just likes that stuff like that all the time. And my poor mother, I don't know if you can hear this, or father, but she's like, oh, not one, like my daily, my daily experience. Oh, never once in my life. Sorry, Dad. But yeah, there's a big stepping up for that, right? And there's consciousness and there's a willingness. That's the thing. This is the word that I like the best when it comes to describing a man. A partner is willingness, a willing man. And a lot a lot of men, what I also see is that they feel like they're doing the man thing and they're manning up, but they're doing what they think they need to do. And probably some of it needs to be done. And that's great. It needs to be done, but it's not what she needs. It's not what she's indirectly asking for,
Yeah.
or directly, even because he's like, he's the man who's going to do this thing. And I don't know. I wouldn't trade this for anything. No way. Because not only that, not only is he's conscious man, but he studies it and he knows it and he sees it and he doesn't put it on me. And he doesn't analyze me. He doesn't do anything like that. So it's pretty amazing. But you've got all the manly things. Like when we first met, I was renovating a condo and there was a few niggly things that hadn't get done. I didn't know what he could do. Well, next thing you know, it's all done. It's all fixed. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah. And not to say that, you know, all men need to be able to like,
No,
but
no, they don't. But it's
there are some
freaking
things
nice.
that like make your nuts drop, you know, it's like the, you know, going back kind of back to the planned destruction of the masculine male.
Which you seem to be well into. Would you
Oh, we're well
agree?
into.
Well into.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're well into this, but like it's only once again, this if I were a psychopathic mastermind who knew all of this, the occult of psychology and da da da, this um, you know, the mastery in that is to have people do it for you. And the best people to
Right.
do it for you are the people who it's going to affect directly, right? To voluntarily, if you want to radically change your life, folks, you go start looking at how many times there's nothing you've been forced to do in the public domain. Everything has been voluntary. And we will have people who will argue with me, but they can't win because it's not true, because it's the way it is. So we people, the best way to destroy a man and a woman, but like we're talking about men today, is to train them to self-destruct.
Mm.
So you make, you know, so a very, very healthy or a couple of very, very healthy masculine dominant aspects are providing and protecting.
Right.
Okay. But the trick is now, no, so that's a like an ancient DNA kind of program, right? Men, pound for pound, bigger, stronger. Even a male that's the same size as a female, pound for pound, the man will be stronger. It's just the way it is. I didn't create the system. It's just how it works. So get the fuck over it. It's just the way it is. It has nothing to do with worth or value or anything. It's how this place is created. So the one thing, so when you think of what, let me ask you, uh if I say, yeah, he's a good provider, what's the default thinking?
Money. You think
Money. It's all about money, right? So many people out there, like like I really like my forte is working with people who look successful on the outside but don't feel successful on the inside, and they don't know why, right? So one of the greatest frog farming mechanisms out there is to make the man believe that the only thing he needs to provide is money.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they like a man will subconsciously connect providing to money. Okay. So there's all these wealthy families that break apart because it's not about the money. It's about what the woman needs provided for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It might be an outdoor shower.
Check.
Check, right? But the man can't hear it without listening. So I was talking about those 5 tenets, and the third one being become a mind reader. it's not like you're psychically, you're just, there's so much being said if you'll just pay attention, fellas. And if you listen, it will be as if you were a mind reader. And all of a sudden, if you're willing, you can make things happen. Well, where your lady will celebrate you in ways that you like. It's true.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Because that's actually a big issue
What?
is how we celebrate each other.
Mm. Okay.
Because it seems like, well, not everybody, that's a big whitewash statement. Most folk only celebrate others in ways that they like to be celebrated.
Mm.
You know, I'm guilty of it. Hey, I'm a wine guy. So it's easy for me to go pick up a bottle of wine to offer as a gift, as a demo, or as a an expression of love and gratitude for a friend. But that only goes so far, because if someone doesn't like wine, it's a gift that I'm projecting instead of giving, right? So
Mm-hmm.
explore in your relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody, challenge yourself. Are you giving gifts in a way that you would like to receive them, and not really explored if it's a way that they would like to receive? Okay. Because maybe just out of, they don't want to hurt your feelings, so they're tolerating your gift because it really means nothing to them other than you gave it to them.
Right. So what would you think? Because what we really want to focus on is, or help people see, is we need the men, we need the women, we need the roles. I'm all about, like, I'm doing things outside the home, but for me, my most important role really is raising a healthy, well-adjusted child, family,
Garden.
nourishing, right? And through the garden, nourishing the like,
Raising a
that's
healthy, well-adjusted garden.
that's really important. That all that stuff is so, it's so important, but I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
But we need these traditional gender roles that if we were just to be plopped into that forest over there, I'm sure we would naturally do different things because we have different strengths. We have different, we have just different drives, but we want to make it work all together. And we need that.
Yeah.
We can't have everybody doing the exact same thing. So a healthy man, a manly man, what are some traits? Like, so there's man in relationship, but they're not all in relationship, just a good man, right? What are some key traits do you think that we need, that a man should foster to be that man that I think most men seek to be, honestly, unless they're completely duped by the whole freaking psyop and they're all wearing dresses and, cutting their third limb off and not third, in between, you know what I mean? So they're just doing radical things. Okay, we're not talking like, for some, and some unfortunately they learned too late and they made a mistake. But I think most men want to be a strong man. But some of them are not, they're fearful, they're weak, and some of them are too, like, they're so not confident in who they are that they express that, maybe what some people would say, that toxic masculinity, because they really don't know who they are and they're not comfortable with themselves, they're not confident. I think that's really a display of not being confident in yourself.
Yeah.
So
you want to know, here's a secret about toxic masculinity. Okay. A secret about what people call toxic masculinity is actually a man who hasn't engaged in his conscious masculine and is engaged in the fury of the feminine.
the fury of the feminine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, uh, so in in the Hindu faith, like there's the divine feminine goddess is wearing a necklace of skulls of men because it's the feminine that is the destroyer.
Okay.
Okay. So that just like the ocean can have a tsunami and like wipe everything out, it can drown ships, it can cause a lot of damage, or it can be like flat, peaceful, and serene. This is like the
Right.
power of the feminine.
Oh.
This is the power of the feminine. And so toxic masculinity, ironically, is not masculine.
Hmm.
It's unresolved feminine energy
Within themselves.
within themselves.
Really?
And so they have this place of needing to uh be seen as powerful. Ask any YC captain knows how powerful the ocean is. So a masculine energy would be to want to sail a ship from here to there.
Right.
Right? It has a single-minded focus.
Mhm.
But you better respect and almost worship the power of the ocean if you want to do that,
Mhm.
because she'll eat your lunch.
So
So
eat for lunch.
yeah, right.
So what are some traits of a healthy man?
Well, one of the ones you identify over and over again are willingness.
I love that one.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Another one might be available, like
Oh,
uh
okay.
and there's a bunch of nuances around this stuff, but and people have all degrees on a spectrum of masculine feminine energy because we all have it, both of those. So these are going to be broad stroke statements, so govern yourself accordingly. um the masculine, in order to recharge, needs alone time, needs to go to the cave, needs to fucking be working on a project or da da da. And so the masculine is more like a battery, and it needs to be like charged up so it can come back and be useful. Where the uh, uh, feminine dominance is more like a capacitor. It can withhold energy until it needs to discharge.
Mhm.
Okay, and if it's at its limit and it can't do anything anymore, it needs a way to discharge. So it needs to empty. Okay, so often that happens through talking, right? It's a discharging mechanism. So a conscious masculine male will understand that she's actually making room to be available for more, to receive more.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, where the guy can't. Sometimes a man wants to talk, but he just can't because he hasn't been able to recharge. So what happens? Woman comes along. What's wrong, honey? Hey, don't talk to me. Come on. Right. So, like that gift, how we celebrate each other and the gifts given and all that kind of stuff. The capacitor comes along trying to tell the battery, hey, you'll feel much better if you just like discharge it all out. Where if he discharges if the battery discharges, it'll never have any energy to do anything.
Right.
Right. And vice versa. If um masculine might come along, the battery might come along, tell the capacitor, you know what? Just get quiet and just like let yourself.
Mhm.
Like just cut everything else out. And just,
I have to say these days though, I am enjoying some of my alone time too, more than I used to.
Yeah.
More than I didn't really need it before.
but here's the thing.
Okay.
So I have this other model where, there's the maiden, the milk, the milk factory, which eventually becomes the mystery, because our son is getting older and he doesn't need mom like he used to need mom.
Right.
So all of a sudden, how you are needed in the world and in your most important, what you just said earlier, your most important thing is to help raise a healthy, robust child, right? And now he's getting to the age, he's 15 now. He doesn't need mom quite as much as he did,
Sure.
right? So all of a sudden this stirs a different part of you.
Okay.
And if you don't, and if you don't understand phases of relationship, then uh you think it's different. Like that something's wrong. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong.
Right.
Is that now
It's
that
next
energy that
phase.
was being used over here needs to be used somehow,
Mm,
right? And so
okay.
it changes.
That makes sense.
It just changes, right?
And I have to say, speaking about our son, I am so grateful for the role model that he has because he already displays behaviors just that he's naturally picked up just from being around it, right? He's not around a lot. He's not in school. So he's not around a lot of girls, but when he is, he's different. And even my good friend saw it and pointed it out when she saw him behaving a certain way with a friend's daughter. And he's he sees it. He sees how to be conscious in relationship.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It is very fun. And he's not
And it's really cool. It's really cool to get the feedback from the ladies from the adult ladies.
Yeah.
Notice.
Yeah. So he is growing up in an example of a healthy relationship. And I'm very, 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 very happy for that. Very happy because he's very much a boy, right? He's very much a boy, but he knows how to pay attention in certain ways. He's only 15. So,
Yeah.
still lots to go, but it's already showing and I'm very thankful for that.
Actually reminds me of a point that might be a good point to like bring into the conversation to kind of wrap it up. It is when you mentioned that he's a boy. Now let's take this idea that he's a boy and he's growing into a man.
Which actually he's really growing into a man. By the way.
He's a big strapping lad.
He is.
So, but so going from a boy into a man, and let's circle that back around and connect back with this idea of, let's say this Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars paper.
Oh yeah.
Is an authentic document that is part of a systematic idea to change what the male is, and that's how you best break a family. And hence, breaking families then creates people who want to reproduce less and reduce population. But if you want to call it, if people want to call it conspiracy theory, they can, but they'll just be proven wrong.
We'll just see what I think even in that document that where they talked about taking away the basketball courts from communities and things like that. Remember that? That's how they destroy communities because they used to have a healthy place to go gather. And then you take away the basketball courts. You did like it's a really calculated way of destroying a society.
Well, competition is one of the elements that will bring out the best in the male, but also the worst in the male, depending on how it's framed. And everything that's competition these days, professional sports, everything, it's like it's basically a big invitation to bring out the worst of the masculine. So, going back what I wanted to say about the idea about bringing the boy out of the man.
Yeah.
And so us fellas have been raised uh, typically not to cultivate the powerful masculine, right?
Right. Yeah.
Instead, we're ambushed for the idea of the toxic masculine,
Right.
right?
But then we want a man.
Then you want a
But then
man,
you want a man.
then you,
But we've
but then you emasculate your man
we've
at every episode.
and I think this
It's
is
hot.
very hot.
Sorry,
But
it's
then
getting pretty low there, so I just needed.
they're but but I think they're also taught that when they're growing up, right? Don't fight, show your emotions. Like it's okay to cry. Like, and it is okay to cry when you have to cry, whatever. But there's some of those manly things that I think you hear more stories. Once upon a time, boys used to get into fights. They used to do dangerous things. They used to carry around knives. They used to do these things now, and we're really softening that whole thing. Playgrounds are safer. There's less risk. Nobody wants to be responsible for anybody getting hurt. And it's just more, I think everything is getting dulled down.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
our kids aren't growing up with the confidence, like a confident boy to become a confident man, I think should have certain skills, know-how already when they're younger.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk associated with the healthy masculine, that the healthy masculine has to risk making his decision and then executing on that decision. And if you want to be the conscious feminine, it's about uh supporting him in that risk. Now that will go too far. Like if someone's just
Right.
not, if the masculine is the male is not learning the lesson, then
Right.
at some point something has to be done. But
Yeah.
like it's more of an intervention. Um but this idea, what I really want, what I'm trying to get, what I'm keep circling back to is for the conscious feminine
This back.
to play this game super well. It's more about like living in a question. It's like how can I how can I act? What is it that I can do in my specific relationship, my specific circumstance to help bring the man out of the boy?
Okay, so let's give some because I
It's a
think
tough
that's
one because
the thing. Like how do we do that? Because I think a lot of women, because they're not getting the man out of the boy, they are nitpicking. I'm sure I nitpick on certain things too, for sure. But they're probably nitpicking more than they're appreciating. And so, like, give an example of how they could do that in a way that's authentic too, right? You don't want to be fake, but you want to be authentic. But yeah, example.
right. So, well, a big thing that's been pushed down everybody's throat these days, just to speak your mind, speak your truth, especially to the women. You just got to stand up and speak your truth. Okay. Which
Okay.
is usually what the woman thinks. But the truth is if it's okay, like this is a very dynamic conversation. But let's pretend for a moment that we're talking specifically about a woman who wants a relationship with a man and is willing to explore the relationship between masculine and feminine energies. Okay. So here's something you did. Let me give you an example that's worked really well. So uh, I was working on your sister-in-law's vehicle,
Okay. Oh, I know,
right? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, he was not happy.
So I was running into some struggles and I was very not happy. And you know that thing about the masculine needs to do this? Well, Sasha walks up, comes home, and I just looked at her and said, it would be best if you just didn't talk to me right now. Something like that. Right. And she just went, ooh. And anybody who knows this woman, uh, you would run into a challenge if you spoke disrespectfully to her. But what she did is she just turned and went, because I'm normally a very open communicator. But she knew intuitively or something,
Oh, I could feel it.
like you could feel it
Oh,
because
yeah.
you pay attention, right? And I was just like, and it doesn't mean that you should always not talk to your mouth. Like if
Right.
somebody blows up, it's whether that blow up is warranted or not, for instance. And you did it such an amazing gift to me that day by just not trying to come and help me or have me explain what I'm struggling with,
Right.
because that would have just fucking annoyed me to no end, because I'm just trying to get the job done. Right. Because the masculine is like, in Alison Armstrong's language, what's the point? What's the problem? Okay.
You're like
So
fixing things.
yeah. And I was trying to fix something. And way earlier, actually right at the beginning, when you talked about the condo, remember
Yeah.
the counter thing? Of course you did.
He's changing the counter.
I was
Yeah.
swapping out the countertops.
He had one chance to get it right.
Because and so Sash's like, are you sure that this and that and I probably said something. I seem to in my
Yeah.
memory, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's probably in the best interest of our relationship that you just leave.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I did.
And you did. Right. So that's an example, right?
And he did a great job. It was
But you
perfect.
didn't judge it, and you celebrated the result.
Yes.
You let me do
Yeah,
it.
I remember that.
And I come back and sure, it was successful. So it breeds the question. So what happens if it doesn't pan out and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. But
And what do you do then?
well, is it a matter of incompetence, or is it a matter of somebody always gets an opportunity to learn? That's why I'm not a huge fan of this type of question, only because it's pretty case specific.
Right.
It's like, well, what do you mean, and what happened, and how were you, and what you know if you want to go into broad context, make sure that you check yourself first, right? Are you doing a knee-jerk reaction that's giving, like, somebody an elbow because you've been hurt in your past or something like that?
Mhm.
Or are you actually saying a warranted comment or doing a warrant? Like, it's different, and
Right.
people don't check themselves first. They have a tendency to live from their programming. So if you have unresolved programming, that can cause absolute havoc. So taking radical personal responsibility and say, you know what, so when it changed for me, when my 85 failed relationships changed, and
Yeah, I
this
don't think
came
he can
along,
call them all
you know,
relationships. He likes to say that
I know
number, but
it's a real dramatic entry point into the
Right.
story, though. So you're gonna give that to me. So when it all changed, it's like, you know what, I am the common denominator. So if I keep getting the same result, well, maybe I'm doing the same actions, and maybe it's something that I can do. So, and this actually starts going into all of the occult knowledge of psychology of how to work with self and how it all works. It's like you can't be a powerful soul on this planet if you're into blame, victimhood, and just bitching about other people. Can't do it. It
No.
doesn't work. They're not corresponding energies. So if someone's having that in their relationship, well, I would say that it's probably you first, right? Now that doesn't mean that you leave it there, because some people love thinking that they did the work, but they're actually telling themselves a story that they did the work. Did you do the work that moves the needle? Or do you just say, I'm doing the work, and like all these toxic males are out here? It's like, I'm sorry, that doesn't fly.
And I have to say, it has not been my experience in my life of over 50 years on this planet that I'm surrounded by toxic males. I just don't see toxic men. I don't see what people are talking about. I have appreciated most of the men that I have come across in my life.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've known. Like, I don't see them as they're none of them, but it's not like they're the ones that I would
Perfect
want, but I don't see this. I don't see the evidence of toxic masculinity all
Well,
around me.
and the reason is, I think, because you hold conscious feminine so easily and gracefully. So those aren't going to be part of your realities. So the toxic masculine energies typically come from quote unquote strong women. Like people would describe you as strong, but you're like extremely feminine at the same time. Whereas like the women who have been trained that they need to like I don't even know what you would call it. Like they have, basically they don't think they need a man. They would like a man, but they don't need a man, right? I can make my own money. I can do this. I can do that.
Right. But why would
But
you want this? Just doesn't make any sense. I'm
well,
so thankful for everything that you do. And every time I think of the things that you've done, and I think of my friends who don't have a man in their life, and I'm so thankful because I couldn't have fucking done it.
but going, thank you. And let's go back just
Okay,
quickly
okay,
to
okay.
the energetic of
Yes,
what,
okay.
what I'm talking about. And then
Yes.
maybe let's wrap this up.
Okay.
So that is a off balanced energetic of that's the conscious feminine that can't even be heard because they're living in the masculine energy so much that the only energy that it can attract to itself is a toxic masculine because its only way to overpower, the only way that it feels like it has a chance with you is to overpower your masculine energy in hopes of getting to your feminine energy.
Interesting.
So I work with all these ladies who are, because of the corporate world and everything, they've been like trained into living in their masculine all of this time. And what's dying to get out of them is their conscious feminine. But it like threatens them to no end to do what it takes to get that because now they've self-identified with.
Do they feel that would be weak? Like, what do they feel? Why are they afraid of that? Why does that challenge them? What are they?
Well, it's the unfamiliar and it's the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
I've been able to maintain and control my life. I have my job. I've paid for my house. I have my kids. I do this. And I can keep it all together if I'm in this energy. But that energy can't allow the conscious masculine to come in.
Interesting.
It can't. It will only attract the toxic masculinity, which needs to feel like it can overpower your feminine energy in order to get to your feminine.
It's
Right?
fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And it makes
really,
sense when you're living in a world where its frequency is everything. It
yeah,
totally makes sense.
yeah. Like the weirdest, maybe in closing, I might say that the weirdest thing about the conscious feminine coming out is when you can confidently give yourself to the masculine and surrender to it.
What would that look like?
In the most pedestrian way, it's like, okay, you just handle it. And I'm just going to go with whatever you handle it and however you handle it. And I won't nitpick you. I'm just going to go with it. You might not like it. You might not, but he needs to, if for his conscious masculine to be fostered, he needs to be able to feel you. One of the principles that I work with is nothing has happened until it's felt. So in other words, what's actually happened is what's felt, because in the world of relationship, everybody's talking about, oh, she's like flying off the handle and he's being an asshole and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what if we started at the point that whatever is making them feel that way is true, specifically for them,
Right.
right? I'm upset, you're upset. Now, how do we get to the clarification about what the upsetness is all really about? So it's once again, it's a phenomenally dynamic
Right.
experience or topic, and I love it. It's so much fun seeing women who were living in their masculine start to let their feminine out and understanding like in my coaching, I talk a lot about leaking, and without going into further, I'm not going to go into it today, I don't think, but in general, masculine energy leaks out, and feminine energy allows leaks in. And so it's 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 a perfect expression of why the difference between why women have affairs and why men have affairs. It's different. And so getting into the cause of healing those leaks, then that, you remember the substance and form, right? So if a masculine energy leaks, that means it has form and it has substance, right? Substance is leaking out because there's ruptures in the form. Okay. And there's form in the feminine, but it leaks in when there's ruptures in the form. So there's both masculine energies in both. It's beginning to understanding like, how do you leak? And on a case by case basis, when we help people to figure out what their leaks look like, because your leaks you might not even think, you wouldn't be able to recognize them as leaks until you come across like a leak expert or something like that. You know what I mean? What? That's a
So,
leak?
okay.
Kind of idea.
So where do people find? So I think he's quite amazing and he works with people. So I don't know if we ever share your website and stuff before in the past
I don't know.
with, okay. So I got to say things like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm starting to say that more now.
If you
For
you
me,
found this valuable, please
for-
like and should share
right.
and subscribe. Right.
And then, and give me a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
At least. But okay, so for you, where do people find you if they want to learn more about what you do? Because so if say somebody wants to have a chat with you, how would that work? And how do they do that?
Easiest way is just to go to timothyroy.com. Or if you want to go right to it, go, oh, I better not say it because I can't remember if it's invite or invitation.
You don't.
Okay.
Just Timothy Roy.
Timothyroy.com.
So Timothy,
T-Y-M.
Tymothy Roy.
ROY.com. Have a look, see if you like what you see on there, and just click one of the invitation links, and it'll take you through a process where you can book a call with me, and that'll be a call that happens at no charge. I don't work with people who don't feel like I'm 100%, or I don't charge people that don't feel like I'm 100% that person they want to work with. So, and who knows? Sometimes people don't need coaching; they just need and so if in a couple of hours I can give you then you get to walk away at no charge with a completely different outlook. And if it works out, then we'll figure it out from there.
Okay. All right. Well, this is fascinating. There's I don't coach with them. I just live with them. So
Don't coach your partner. Major mistake.
And he doesn't. Oh, look, it just brightened up on the screen. But yeah, and it's funny because I know some of your principles and some of your wisdoms, but I don't know a lot of them. So it's interesting. It's interesting to be in this seat and listen to you and hear you talk about this. So yeah, guys. Okay, well, I thought that was fun. I think this is a really important topic because always from the beginning, when this really started taking root, this whole, just removing the genders and blurring the lines. It's like life doesn't move forward without that. So what is going on here and how are we all buying into this and supporting it when, that really kind of means the end of it for the ones that decide to go that way. So
yeah, maybe we could start a new slogan that says, make men great again.
Make men great again. Bringing back the man. And I wanted to say, what did I want to say? Reclaiming our men or but Kelly Brogan's using the reclaimed woman. So I don't want to say that, but we do need to reclaim the man. We do need to reclaim the woman. We need to reclaim the natural role because once upon a time, because we work well that way. We're meant to work well that way. We raise healthy, not always. I mean, there's always going to be some dysfunction in families and things like that. But I think once upon a time, we know who we were, and now we're so busy trying to define our tiniest minutia that we're missing the greatness of who we are and why we're actually here because we're fighting over our freaking pronouns and how we're going to address each other and whether we're offending each other and who gives a shit about that. Let's just figure out why we're here. What is our greatness that we're here to express? and stop worrying about all the little things. Okay. All right, honey.
Cool.
That was great.
Yeah,
Thanks
Sounds
for
good.
joining us, guys. I hope you like it. If you did, please share. And until then, be happy, be well, know who you are. Go listen to some of my other podcasts.
Yeah,
They're really good.
do that.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for joining us. Ciao.